So by now you probably know you can use reverse dieting to improve your metabolism. The thing is though, while yes, it's great for doing that, there are also a lot of benefits that not a lot of people talk about. So today I'm going to talk about 5 of the more underrated benefits that come when you start a reverse diet. So one of the things I try to preach is to make sure that you enjoy whatever phase you're in for what it is, rather than getting caught in sort of the grass is greener mentality a lot of people do. Meaning if you're in a reverse diet and all you can focus your attention on is how you want to lose weight, it's gonna be a miserable process, not to mention it's just not possible to always lose weight forever, so you can't only be motivated by weight loss. Hey, don't get me wrong, I get it. And especially when you're talking about just trying to maintain your weight, it's just not a very fun goal. It's not very exciting to just try to stay the same, which is all the more reason why you need to focus on other benefits while going through a reverse. So with that, the first underrated benefit of a reverse diet is being able to enjoy more food, but also creating a healthier relationship with food in the process. I mean, think about it. What's one of the ways that many people improve their relationship with food? They start including things that they normally deemed as bad or off limits into their diet, but that's pretty hard to do if you're constantly dieting and on low calories because you just don't have the budget to do so, at least without overshooting things and potentially leading you down some binging cycles. Personally, I've always liked the way Lane Norton explains this, using budget as a metaphor, because if you think about it, if somebody is making like $1 million a year and they can easily put away in their college savings and easily put food on the table and pay their mortgage and have extra money to be able to do things, can they go out and buy a $100,000 car and be fine with that? Absolutely. Whereas if you're only making $25,000 a year and you're struggling to pay your rent and putting food on the table and things like that, should you go out and buy a $100,000 car? Well, obviously not, although that doesn't stop some people, right? But food works kind of the same way. If you have a higher budget of food, if your calories are higher, you can include more things that you normally couldn't and be able to fit it within that budget and get away with it. So as you reverse diet and your calories get higher, it makes it easier to be more social and go out with friends and go out to parties. And quite realistically, be able to have your cake and eat it too. So when you go through this process, it makes it easier to stick to your plan, and quite frankly, I think this is why a lot of people actually start seeing better results in their earlier stages of a reverse, because as calories get up, they more realistically can hit their goals. So instead of feeling overly restricted and then binging and then coming back and cycling back and forth, they consistently hit their calories. So even though their target calories are higher, their actual calories consumed are lower. Now, the second underrated benefit of going through a reverse diet is the improved performance that comes along with properly fueling your body with more food. It's pretty impossible to perform your best when you're always dieting and you're constantly lowering calories. And let's face it, working out just isn't that fun when you feel like crap. So in my opinion, when you switch to a reverse diet, one of the things you really want to focus your attention on is more performance-based goals and trying to improve in different things that you do inside the gym. Because if you focus your attention on things like performing better and crushing your workouts, instead of wishing you had less body fat, not only are you going to enjoy the process more, but it's probably going to go better too. So again, don't get caught in the grass is always greener. Now the third thing, which goes along really well with number 2, is focusing on building muscle, because finally getting out of a calorie deficit and increasing your calories is going to put your body in a much more optimal position to build that muscle. Not only because more calories puts you in a more anabolic environment, but when you take that on top of the improved performance that comes as well, some pretty amazing things can happen. And let's not forget, the more muscle you have, the faster your metabolism will be, because your body burns more calories at rest having the extra muscle. Because while reverse dieting does improve your metabolism back to sort of what your baseline would be for your normal genetics, it's through building more muscle that you can increase your metabolism beyond that number. Not to mention, nothing improves body composition the way having more muscle does, and even if muscle isn't a big goal of yours, it's not like you need to worry about looking like a bodybuilder. That becomes very difficult to do and a lot of effort over a long period of time. So even if you don't want to have a very muscular frame, focusing on building some muscle is still going to help you more than you can probably imagine. Now, the fourth underrated benefit is a lot of people can actually improve their relationship with that pesky scale by going through a reverse. So many people are so terrified to gain any amount of weight, and it just leads them down a dark path. And if there's one thing that can pretty much guarantee a miserable life, it's being completely obsessed with scale weight. And I don't know about you, but isn't having a happy life much more important than weighing some arbitrary number that you made up in your head? You need to understand that your weight is literally the least interesting thing about you, and nobody cares how much you weigh or if you've gained a few extra pounds, nor will they even notice. And hell, if you go through the reverse and you start building some muscle, you may find over time that you actually have a better body composition, weighing more than you did before. And if you had the body you wanted, if you created that dream body, but it weighed 15, 20 pounds more than you thought you wanted to weigh, would you really care what that number says? Plus, you know what? You just need to be able to enjoy life sometimes. Feeling like you can't ever enjoy a vacation or a holiday or going out with friends or things like this, it's just not a fun life to live, and it's not worth being that hyper-focused all the time. So by going through a reverse diet and being okay with that number trickling up over time, letting go of some of those fears and maybe even turning it upside down and stop thinking about saying, I'm gaining weight and turning it into I'm building muscle, you get some perspective and start to learn that, hey, you know what? Sometimes gaining a little weight in the short term is the very thing I need to do to be able to lose more in the future. There's nothing worse than hating your life because you're so scared to gain weight. Do not use weight as your moral compass. Now, the fifth underrated thing about reverse dieting, and is probably the most important one, and that's just flat out feeling good again. When you're run into the ground all the time because you're constantly dieting and doing a bunch of cardio and your body's fighting you, just having more energy, being able to sleep better, being able to perform better, and just flat out feeling like a human again is worth its weight in gold. In more extreme examples, people will start losing their hair, their nails will start to thin, they'll lose their periods and things like that. And there's no body worth having that makes you feel this way. Not to mention, if you're constantly having these problems, chances are you don't have the body you want, and I can pretty much promise you it's not gonna lead to getting that body you want either. Remember, there is no happy ending to an unhappy journey. Now, as much as I'm telling you that you need to be okay with some scale weight gain during a reverse diet, that doesn't mean you won't necessarily want to at least minimize it as much as possible. And there are some cases where you can even avoid it altogether. So if you want to do this, make sure you check out this top video, and I'll show you what you need to do to give yourself the best chance possible. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you at that other video.